How's it going, you guys? So I figured I'd go ahead and show a very simple way to set up where a companion follows the player. I'm also going to take the camera, move that up. So ideally is what I want, and you know what, this material is really bright, so I'm just going to quickly create a material. Don't ever put a material inside your scripts folder. I'm just doing it because, I'm lazy. Ground. Let's go and make this a darker shade and apply this so we can actually see what is going on. So I'll probably make the camera move. As I said before, right now I'm just lazy, so I'm not. But we're also going to want something to follow the player, and y'all know how I feel about this. Get rid of that crap in the middle. So the first thing we want to do, and I've already added a rigid body to the player and to his companion. The first thing we want to do is we actually want to say private rigid body. We'll just call this RB, or I'm just going to do lowercase, and we'll say start RB equals get component, and the component type we were getting is the rigid body. So is what we want to do. We don't want to, actually I'm just going to show you this, update. So if we were to do RB dot add force, and we're going to say transform, if I can spell, forward times speed. So I need to create a variable for speed, and so we'll say public float speed. That's if we do an input. If input dot, I'm just going to do key for now, get key, and we'll do key code dot w. Then we're going to move them forward by whatever speed they have. So I can't just show you on one system. I have to have several systems to do this, or at least two. The reason why you don't want to do this in update, because update will get called as many times as it can in 1 second. So on my computer it might be 600 times. On someone else's computer it might be 400. On someone else's it might be over 1,000. So it's actually going to change the speed at which the character moves. So what you want to do is you actually want to do fixed update. And let's go ahead and copy this line real quick. And we're going to change this to S. And what we can do is just say negative speed. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and test it real quick and make sure it is working. So we have this right here, which does not have a script. So let's go ahead and add player movement. And we'll say speed equals 5. We'll test this. Okay, so the reason why that did not work, because I need to turn on my, well, I don't need to freeze the position, but I do need to freeze the rotation of it. You don't have to freeze all of them, I'm just doing it because lol. So let's go ahead and crank up the speed, and there we go. So the only issue with this is, as you can see, he takes a while to slow down. We can actually increase the drag on this, so let's say drag equals 5. And there we go. So, but he can't go left or right, and we want to be able to go left and right, obviously. So we can actually just copy these lines, paste. This one will be A, this one will be D, and we'll say right, right, and we will see how this looks. Oh, that's because my speed, I'm going to make it back to 50. Yeah, so there we go. Now I can move all over the place. Awesome. So I'm actually going to set this at 50, and I'm going to set my drag at 5. Honestly, I could probably make that like a 20 or something like that. Let's see how it looks with all these variables set up. There we go. So I actually have my keys backwards. A, yep, right there. Duh. A needs to be left, Jimmy. My bad. Alright, follow player. So how are we going to follow the player? Well, let's go ahead and first do a serialized field, and we're going to say vector3, or actually let's go ahead and do a transform player, and we're going to say update. So what we want to do is we want to do a transform.position equals, we're going to say vector3 dot move towards, and we're going to say transform dot position, and then we will simply say player dot position. And let's go ahead and we need to set up something for how fast it can move there. So we're going to say private float, and let's just go ahead and do speed, and we'll leave that blank for now. So in here, or actually let's go ahead and set this to 3. And so in here is what we're going to do is we're going to say float follow speed equals speed times time dot delta time. And so now we have follow speed. And so what we can do is we can simply say follow speed. Now, some of you might be looking at this like, wait a minute. And I already know where you're going with this. I'm actually doing this intentionally. So I've already created another game object that's a child of the player. And so we can see that the player is right here, but the behind player is right here. So this companion is actually just going to follow what's behind the player. So in theory, I should be able to do this. But now you should notice something that's rather unique about this. Besides the fact that he fell over. So he's always going to follow the player. But as you can tell, the player is able to outrun his companion. We don't want that. So you can do that, but you can also do a lerp. And so this should give us slightly better movement. Also for the companion, let me go ahead and lock his rotations so he doesn't fall over. So now you can see that the companion is actually keeping up with the player. The player cannot outrun his companion no matter how hard he tries. The companion will only go so far behind the player, but then he'll catch back up. And then he'll stop right there where that position is. So that's how you would set something like that up. Hope this helps you guys out. Well, let's go ahead and do the camera too. So I want the camera to... Obviously, I want to be able to follow the player. And so what we're going to do is let's go and create one more script. Camera script. Wait for it to finish compiling. And y'all know how I feel about this crap. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for follow player. Can you remember what we did? If you can, pause the video right here, and then unpause the video after you typed everything up and see if it matches mine. So if you have unpaused the video and it looks like this, then good job. Get the player transform. We're going to have a private float called speed. And the downside about doing this, you have to really keep this in mind, is that the camera will actually kind of fall behind the player a little bit no matter where the player is moving. So if you're going at the camera, the player will get closer to the camera before the camera starts moving. If you're going away from the camera, the player will go further away. But this still kind of like teaches you the basics. And then we're going to say one.position equals vector3.lerp transform.position, and then we're going to say player.position, and then we'll say not time dot, come on Jimmy, follow speed. Alright, so now we will simply select the main camera, throw the camera script on here. We'll take our player and throw our player on here, and we will test it out real quick. So what is going on here? If you guys caught this as I did this, excellent. Good job. I commend you. So just like before, we created an empty game object right here where this little guy is at, where his companion's at. But we never did that for the player, so therefore the camera's actually going to the camera's or the player's position. So if we were to create an empty game object right here, in fact, I'm going to show you a little trick. We want to be able to see where the camera's going to be, right? I'm like, I would. So let's go ahead and create a cube. We're going to move the cube right here in front of the camera. So something like that. Now I know the camera's not lined up, but also keep in mind that what is it? The camera's x-axis is a little offset. So we want to be able to see where the camera's going to be without just looking at this icon. We want to be able to quickly see a cube. So how do we get this cube in here and still be able to render everything without rendering that cube? The easiest way to do this is if we click on this cube, let's go and change the layer. Let's go and add a new layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this layer as non-render. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it poop on a stick. That is okay. But we need to make sure that that layer is assigned to this cube. Then we'll go to main camera, and on the calling mask we have it set to everything. Want to make sure that non-render is unchecked, so you can see it inside the scene, but you don't see it inside the render view. And in fact, if we go up here and just put this as default, let's put it as UI. It doesn't matter what layer this is on, unless it's on the layer that you just created and you're telling the camera to ignore, it will always be rendered. So let's go back to the main camera. We will drag this cube to that position, and you will see now that the camera will actually follow the player in a much more smooth fashion. So I know you can't really see a whole lot of what's going on right now. Luckily though, is what I can do is, let's go ahead and, do I have any textures in here? No, I do not. So I actually have a texture on my desktop. My desktop is super clean, by the way. Like, it is super clean. Yeah, have you guys ever seen a desktop that clean? I sure haven't. So I'm just going to throw this in here real quick, and we will click on the end ground and throw this as an albedo map. And the next thing we want to do is let's go and set this to 4 and 4. So we can easily see that the player is moving. And we can see that cube moving with it. So that's how you would set that up. And yeah, there you go. That's using rigid body to move. Now you might be wondering, but Jimmy, what is the purpose of a rigid body? Like, why would we ever want to use that? You know what? That is a good question. I'm going to create a public bool, and this will be called using RB. So is what we're going to do is we're going to say if using RB. So only if we're using RB. So if this is true, it will do all of this. Else, we're going to say, let's see, do we have, yeah, we do have a speed, good. We're going to say float speed x equals input dot get axis raw. We're going to say horizontal. We'll multiply that by speed multiplied by time dot delta time. And we're going to say transform dot, come on Jimmy, transform dot translate. Because this is on the horizontal, we want to call this on the x-axis, speed x 0 0. And we're going to do this one more time, but this will be speed y, and this will be vertical. And we're going to just simply copy this and set this to 0. Speed Y. Wait. That is the wrong axis. We want to do it on the Z. The Z. Okay, seriously. We'll go into player. So right now, we are not using the rigid body. We are simply using a transform.translate. Ooh, who cares? Well, I'll show you who cares. You will care after you see this. So we have a wall. The wall is blocking the camera. We have a wall. Let me go and set this to -90. Or I guess I could have just set it to +90. But we have a wall right here. So watch what happens when I hit play. What is going on here? Well, what's going on is transform.translate is being called. So this is, in fact, let me go ahead and slow the player down, because right now, yeah, his speed is set to 50. So I'm going to set this to 5. Oh, that doesn't look too bad, does it? No, that doesn't look all bad. Wait, why is he jittering? Well, the reason why he's jittering is because we're calling transform.translate. In fact, if I set this to 10, you don't really see it too much right here. Yeah, you don't really see it too much, but you will see some bouncing. Haha, my companion's stuck. Oh. But you will see some bouncing. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to keep this at 10. I'm going to try and match the speed. So I'm going to say 25. Let me go and set it to 35. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty close to what the transform.translate was doing. Well, let's go ahead and push against the wall. See how smooth that is? Stupid companion. So he is moving. He's moving a lot smoother, but also there's friction with the wall as well. And so that will kind of help. I'm trying to think how to explain this. This will actually help with the jitteriness that you'd get from using transform.translate, especially if you're using 2D. This will help out immensely. So you can do it either way. I recommend doing it this way, although one thing to keep in mind, I was calling this in fixed update and not regular update like most people do. So let's go and call this an update real quick. We want to make sure everything is set. If using RB. But Jimmy, it equals true right now. I know it does. Hold on. There we go. Let's go ahead and get rid of this crap. Save. Let's come back into player movement. I should have really stopped playing, but you know what? It's okay. My code is flawless. So we're set to 35. Let's go and set it to 10. That is, oh, that's because it's set to 1. So there's a jitteriness I was telling you about. On regular fixed update, it does look a lot better. I will admit that. But you can definitely see the jitteriness right here. And if the computer was even faster, it would look a lot worse. In fact, it probably fades through the wall. So that's why you don't want to use transform.translate, especially in update. But if I were to use this rigid body inside of an update, I'm actually going to show you this. This time I will stop playing. So we're just going to comment this out real quick. And you'll see exactly what I was talking about. So I want to make sure I am going to be using the rigid body. I'm not going to modify the speed. I still want him moving just as fast as he was before. So that's a pretty good speed. Notice how he stops. Let's set this to 100. So we can see that he is moving quick. Oh, still stops. Let's set to 200. Still stops. This is going way faster than the transform.translate was earlier. Look at that, still stops. So this is why you want to use rigidbody.addForce. Of course, you don't do it inside of update. You do it inside of fixed update. But this should still give you a good indication or a good direction to go when using rigid body. I hope this tutorial helps, and I'll see y'all later.